Go ahead and call me a coward, say that I'm not strong because I'm not like you. Go ahead and call me crazy because I live in a maze. Tell me, how about you? I think I live in my head. Sometimes I think that I'm dead. I hide behind my youth. No, I've been losing my mind and I'm a little behind. Step aside my shoes, cause I never been happy with myself. And I don't need no one feeling bad for me, trying to offer me pity and throw jabs at me. Wanna give me advice and then laugh at me behind closed doors. Just close the door and let me be by myself. Just me and myself. I'm tired of living, I cry. I hear it's easy to die, I wanna see for myself. And I know that sounds crazy to everyone else, but I'm depressed as fuck, stressed as fuck. Ain't no medicine that can cure what's intense as drugs I need extra love, and that ain't even enough. Today ain't even enough, and where the fuck is God? Yeah, maybe I ain't believing enough, but today we gonna see if he's real. And if he is, then I guess I'm probably going to hell. Look, I ain't wanna die like this. I ain't picture my life like this. They don't know what it's like this. Pretending I'm happy so I can smile like this and laugh like you. Sometimes I wonder if I ever act like you. Could I finally fit in and maybe relax like, ooh? Or would you feel lost without me? Cause honestly, I think the world is better off without me and my mind spinning. This is the line finish. Truth is, I don't care how they feel about my feelings. I made up my mind. I'm going out like Robin Williams. I guess I'm not the ordinary people of John Legend. And I've been suicidal since the day I was 9. Shit. Okay, the day I was 9. I've been tired of being bullied. Stay out the fire. Grandma told me I should take it one day at a time. And damn it, look at me now. Fuck. Pen running out. Ordinary people of John Legend. And I've been suicidal since the day I was 9. Look, just know it's a new day, but if you're reading this, then it's probably too late.
Just make sure you tell my family it's okay. I'm sorry, but it's too late. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. I don't wanna live to see another day. I'm sorry, but I can't say I'm sorry. So much waiting on me. Just make sure you tell my family it's okay. I'm sorry, but it's too late. I'm sorry.
What you wanted, I hope you finally happy. It's too late for you. Been going out of my mind. You don't know how many times that I done prayed for you. I hope you hear me, goddammit, cause I got so much shit that I wanna say to you. I used to shine, now I'm all in the dark. I remember I used to tell you to follow your heart, but goddammit, look at you now, it's all in your fault. How could you? Maybe it's my fault. I should have paid more attention to what you been doing. Maybe I should have been more of an influence. I can't believe that you're dead. I read your letter and all I could do is have mixed feelings about it. But I'll forever be attached to you. Damn. Part of me feels bad for you. A part of me feel like you weak and I'm mad at you. And I don't mean to be insensitive, but I don't understand how we couldn't prevent this shit. You took the easy way out. God damn it, you did. I mean, look what you did. I'm so fucking upset. How could you be so selfish? Nigga, how could you be so selfish? Now you're gone, you done left me so helpless. I wonder what God thinks. I hope you in God's place behaving yourself. Yo, what the fuck you gotta say for yourself? Look, I really feel lost without you. I hate the fact you think the world is better off without you. On my mind spinning, this is the line finish. Truth is, I don't care how you feel about my feelings, and I'd be lying to you if I told you a fine listen. I know that you can hear me, all I need is like 5 minutes. I just want to reach inside the casket and pull you out. I'm sorry, this is something that we both couldn't figure out. I wish I could hear you now. Is your soul missing? I wonder if you could do it again. Would you do it different? Tell me what death is like. Was it meant for you, Brody? Did the heavens support it? Are you fucking happy now? Did you get what you wanted? Isn't this what you wanted? I feel the temperature falling, and you've been suicidal back then. You were not. Yeah, even back then you was 9. We was living on the edge, trying to stay out the fire. Grandma told us we should take it one day at a time, and damn it, look at you now. But it's a new day, and if you can't hear me, then it's probably too late. Fuck!
Just make sure you tell my family it's okay. I'm sorry, but it's too late. I'm sorry. So much waiting on me. I don't wanna live to see another day. I'm sorry, but I can't say I'm sorry. So much waiting on me. Just make sure you tell my family it's okay. see another day. I'm sorry, I can't stay. I'm sorry, so much weight on me. Just make sure you tell my family it's okay. Sorry, it's too late. I'm sorry, so much weight on me. I don't wanna live to see another day. I'm sorry, I can't stay. I'm sorry, so much weight on me.
What's good, fam? How's everybody doing? What's good, T? How you doing? How's life?
Pretty good.
Oh, let me let you know you are tuned in to My Skin Is My Sin blog video, Goons to God. We welcome everyone. We only have one rule, and what's that, Afi?
Be respectful.
Oh, man, you ain't have to be so extra. You were doing too much, dog. That was all right. We tighten that up. That was cool, though.
You said I didn't make you feel it, so now I'm trying to make you feel it.
All right. You know, we'll get it together. But how you doing out there?
Well,
and y'all know we really don't talk about much for the first 15 minutes. I was just talking to the random one or two people that's tuned in. Shout out to you. I can't really see who it is at the moment. I'm trying to invite some people to the live stream. So, pardon me for that delay. But shout out to whoever that is that's watching. That might just be you, Afi. I don't know. And I haven't even checked the YouTube. So if you're in the YouTube chat room, shout out to you. I'll get to you in a minute. Just trying to invite. It's just easier to invite people on the live stream on Facebook. It's a lot easier. So I guess that's kind of why I can be a little neglectful of YouTube. So, again, my apologies, but I will get to the YouTube family in a second. Since we got a couple of minutes, man, I don't know where Rome at, but I know he wanted to talk about Morgan Freeman. What? Come on, bruh.
right.
Like, they're getting ridiculous with this shit. I mean, well, it's not that I'm surprised, but come on, bruh.
I've not seen one person falling for it yet, though. I've not seen one person. Everybody's like, all right, come on now. Clearly, this is becoming an issue. You know, with wanting to target prominent, wealthy black men that's reaching the end of their careers because they don't want us to go out with a positive legacy. And I have to agree. I don't know who has retired that's going out with a positive legacy recently? Anybody? Any black man?
I mean, I guess Bill Cosby was the only one that you would consider, quote unquote, retired. Of those two, because Morgan Freeman is still, he's still putting work in.
Morgan Freeman is on his way into retirement, and I'll rephrase that, not just retirement, the end of their career or lifespan. Same thing. I mean, You can make an argument about Michael Jackson.
I got you.
But the same thing happened with Prince. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they just brought this back up with who they tried to throw some dirt on. Quincy Jones It's like, it's too much. I mean, we just can't have no black men. They got a lasting positive legacy.
I mean, but at the same time, is by saying that, is that allowing them to define our legacies?
No. But what it is doing is it's influencing those of us who are gullible and easily swayed by the media. There's a ton of black people who, and I hate to say it, but the assimilated, integrated, population of black people in this country, that they're not looking for the purpose to kill a black man's legacy. They're not looking at it that way. You know what I'm saying? But if you're a person that clearly understands that, black people not getting a fair shake in this country, it's easy for you to identify that.
Yeah. I feel what you're saying, 100%. And it's just like And they keep beating us over the head one thing after another, you know. So it'll be just so ingrained into us that it's not even problematic anymore. It's like, oh, you see somebody else getting fucked over by the police, keep scrolling. I've seen that a million times. And that is the problem, is that, you know, and we all succumb to it at some point in time. You know, so sometimes you got to be a cheerleader to your people. Got to let them know, you know, I know it's a struggle. I've been there too, you know, but you got to love us enough to keep on pushing. You know,
But Morgan Freeman, though, man, that's just foul.
That's extremely foul. Oh my goodness. And it's like who's next? Like if I'm in Hollywood, especially if I'm like Denzel, if I'm Don Cheadle,
Eddie Murphy, Don Cheadle.
I don't know about it. I think Eddie Murphy is not problematic to them. Like Don Cheadle is pretty outspoken. Huh?
Well, Morgan Freeman's not problematic. Neither was Bill Cosby.
Yeah. When I say not problematic, I mean more does the things that more so that they want black men to do in Hollywood.
Mhm.
You know, so and he ain't speaking out for nobody, and he got caught up with a tranny allegedly. So he like he kind of fits that whole, you know, what we need a nigga to do in Hollywood, punch by the numbers, so to speak. You know, so,
but then what was Morgan Freeman not doing properly?
I don't know. Like that, like I think it's what you said though. That's a legacy thing. You know, but I'm thinking like if I'm a younger actor, a younger brother in Hollywood, you know, it's like you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, you know, you gotta have cameras on you, not to protect you from the paparazzi or anybody else, but I take that back, to protect you from everybody. You got to be able to prove you ain't doing this shit.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and that's the fucked up part about it. You know, that we have to somehow prove that somebody from 60 years ago is not lying. Like that is an impossibility to do. Flip side is, you know, their accusers have to prove that person did it because you're a white guy. You know. Anyway, let me get off the soapbox for a second and let everybody know that tonight we are talking about skeletons in the closet. And I think every family has secrets. And just me personally, you know, like it's different for me at Afi because people know that we do the show, so I wouldn't want to put my family on blast. And that is part of the problem too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to keep it a stack. Like nobody wants to put their family on blast, but if you would like to call up anonymously and talk about something that happened, you could definitely do that. We're not asking you no names. We ain't giving out no numbers. I'll even just bring up the last 2 digits of your phone number so nobody will even associate you with being on this show. You know, but sometimes we hold on to that shit because we don't want to hurt nobody and we end up hurting ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we end up teaching a psychology that we wouldn't otherwise teach to our children. You know, I was just doing a little advertising for the show, and I said sometimes the best thing a radio show can do is listen. This is one of those times. Mm-hmm. So if you got some shit on your chest that you want to get off, and I don't mean, you know, like, and it's okay to laugh about it. It's okay to cry about it. It's okay to be angry. It's not okay to keep it to yourself. So if it ain't us, if this show encourages you to go talk to somebody else, if this show encourages you to pick up the phone and call somebody you feel like you love and that you could trust, do that. And shout out to you, Anitra. Shout out to everybody in the live stream. And, I got to give you the number. It's 347-855-8692. You got to press 1 if you do want to get on air. And again, we're talking about skeletons in the closet. And I don't want that to limit anything. If you got something you want to call up and talk about, you may not feel like it's necessarily a family skeleton, but just something you wanted to get off your chest personally. Feel free to do that too. And I'm sorry to hog the mic, dear Queen.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, all right. Well, you know, sometimes I can go sometimes. Man, and that song that I played at the beginning was Joyner Lucas, and the video, man, is oh man, it's one of the few times I've seen a music video that almost brought me to tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because the song itself,
he definitely was getting some stuff off his chest.
yeah, you know, and it's about suicide, and it is so vivid, and it reminded me that when I was in college, I had a roommate, and this was my boy, you know, and like we knew each other before we became roommates. And like when it got winter time, he just totally shut down. I mean, he wouldn't leave the apartment. He didn't go to class. He didn't do shit but eat ramen noodles and sleep, literally the whole winter time. And so it got to the point where our other boys was like, "Hey man, what's up with your boy?" And that wasn't a good statement. So I sat down and I chopped it up with him, and he was explaining to me how he was so depressed and that his mom's actually made it worse because she was putting this unnecessary pressure on him to be successful, and he had a learning disability that he was trying to cope with at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and I say that to say this, is that after I left school, he left school probably like a semester after I did, and he ended up killing himself.
Oh, wow.
Right. And that is like one of the biggest regrets in my life is that I didn't take it past that conversation. I didn't help my boy get help.
Yeah.
So that's not a skeleton in the closet per se, but it's just something that me personally, I tell that story to remind myself of what I didn't do, and hopefully to encourage somebody that may be in a similar situation to at least, I'm not saying you got to go to every doctor's visit with them. I'm not saying you got to make sure they get their prescriptions, but at least do something more than I did to get them on the right path to save their life. Because from my understanding, like we had lost touch. And, you know, I was talking to my boy, you know, and they was giving me the update of what happened, and he had got a really good job. He had just bought a new truck. So it wasn't even the material things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't want people to get it misconstrued. Like, it's not always about what you know, what we see. Oh, they must be doing good. No, a lot of people hurting and just got a lot of shiny shit to hide the pain.
That's very true.
You know, so I don't know. That really is one of the things that just really to this day kind of haunts me. You know, but I wrote something else too, and I was saying how we all had that story about that great aunt. Well, not all of us, but a great majority of our families, you know, great aunt, she got pregnant way back in the day. They sent her down south and she came back without a baby. Or, you know, you got that uncle so-and-so that your whole family is aware of this nigga and still let him come over to the house. But they tell the kids, stay away from Uncle so-and-so. They don't really tell them why, but they make that shit abundantly fucking clear that Uncle so-and-so is just touched in the head. So they putting the onus already on the kids to behave themselves around a predator.
Yes.
And then we don't say nothing. And then the person that he preyed on in that family is not only ruined by him, but even worse, ruined by the people that feel like they're supposed to protect them. How can you look at your sister or brother knowing y'all grew up in the same household and somebody touched you and they knew it and they didn't do shit?
Didn't say anything. Or a parent. How do you look at a parent like that? Because usually a sibling is probably in the same position as you and your sibling. can't do very much to save you if y'all are about the same age, but unless you know you're older children. But parents, it's so often that a parent knows.
And that's just horrible. And I mean, it's easy. I mean, no, it's not easy. You know, I guess it's easy to say. You know, but I don't care what your financial situation is. I don't care what the fuck you're going through. If your child comes to you in pain, you need to be listening. And I don't care how much you love X, Y, and Z or whoever the hell it is you with. When your child comes to you in pain, you need to be listening. You know, it's too many people, and they thinking so they're not even thinking selfishly enough. Because if you ruin that child has no ability to take care of you in the future when you really need that child. And then you're going to resent that child for not taking care of you, which is really wrong because you created that child to be that way. And then that child teaches their child the same thing. You know, you don't have to believe in like the church or anything to understand generational curses. Well, it's not really a curse. It is a practice. It is a habit that somebody created. And it's usually with these skeletons in our closets that we don't share. How many times you done heard somebody go to a funeral and granddaddy apparently had a whole other motherfucking family on the other side of town that nobody knew about, except his wife. You know, and I won't say that nobody knew about, but that they didn't discuss it with anyone.
Yeah.
Just those two knew it. Now, I can understand y'all married. However, if he got a whole family, that means you got kids.
More than likely.
Right. You know, and so don't your children deserve to know, oh, I got a brother or a sister on the other side of town? You know, and it's I don't know who to blame. I don't know who to go to fix it. I do know that it is crippling us in so many ways, and we are overlooking it. Like, white people is not going to change.
Yeah.
Nothing we're going to do that is going to change anything about white people. They good with the status quo. The sooner we understand that, the better off we'll be. My point in saying that is these skeletons that we're keeping in the closet is crippling us going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really are. We're hurting ourselves. Adding on the mental strain on top of the generational strain that we already are born into. So we're really not doing ourselves any favors by not addressing these issues that we clearly have.
And I hate to bring it to black man and black woman because I really am not big on that. However, in this particular instance, from my experience, I think it's emotionally tougher on us in that society as a whole has said that men ain't supposed to have emotions.
Yeah.
You know, and so we tend to oppress shit a lot more than women do. You know, and that's not to say that women have more support. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we don't search that support out. And we got to stop doing that. You know, it is a lot of brothers out there that uncle was molesting them. And they can't say anything to anybody. Cause you gay or you a bitch or you a punk. When you're 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, whatever, you know. But people making judgment calls on some shit on something that somebody did to you. That's part of our problem too. If we can't allow our men to heal correctly, how can they teach correctly? You know, it's. I guess I was trying to look up some statistics and whatnot, and
Mhm.
It hurts, you know. And when you look at the 1 in 6, are going to be molested over there, as a child, if I remember correctly. And if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure somebody will correct me, But the likelihood of who is going to molest you is somebody that is in your family. And somehow our families have convinced themselves that we all in unison to protect the quote-unquote family name when somebody in the family does something fucked up. But any other time, we'll individually do dumb shit all through the day, all through the month. And we ain't thinking about the family name then. We ain't thinking about embarrassing nobody else, But when something really horrible happens to one of our children, hey, we collectively hold this shit in. And the sad part about it is it ain't just the families. You can't tell me, I bet you anybody that ever tuned into this show, if you called 5 people, just 5 people and asked each one of them people if they ever heard of somebody in their family molesting somebody else, you're going to get one of those people. I'm almost certain of it. They say, yeah. They did nothing either.
What, that they haven't?
That they have heard of somebody.
Oh,
it may not be their family.
If we're going to keep it funky, all of us are going to say yeah.
I didn't want to generalize and say everybody. But my point is that we all complicit in it though. And we don't want to face that harsh truth.
Yeah. You're right about that.
Wow. And I don't know if it's you said it on Facebook, but I just looked at this one comment that said that resentment is real when you don't get the protection you need. And I fully understand that shit. Like, why wouldn't you be mad? And not only are you mad at the people that's supposed to protect you and supposed to love you, you extrapolate that anger to everybody else. Because if you're mad at the motherfuckers that you actually do love, you're really mad at the motherfuckers that you don't care about. And that's, i.e., the rest of the world. So I totally, oh my goodness. And if anybody would like to call up, and I'm gonna get to you right in 1 second, 4122. The number is 347-855-8692. You do have to press the number 1 if you want to get on air. And I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be doing just the last 2 numbers, so we'll get to 22 right quick. What's good, fam?
Good evening. You're fine with 4122. This is K-Mac. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm so used to saying it, Queen. I do apologize.
Hey,
no, you're fine. I'm good. Hey, beautiful. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. I'm very glad, actually, that you brought this topic up. My daytime job and my nighttime job and my weekend job, my 24/7 job, is providing support to people who have been sexually assaulted, sexually abused throughout their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in this field off and on for about 30 years, to include domestic violence, dating violence, as well as suicide. I've been involved in this for a long time. And I'm watching as things change. Your statistics are correct. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 6 men will have been touched in their lifetime. That statistic was never like that. It used to be 1 in 7 women and 1 in 15 men. And so for it to have closed the gap and dropped like that, I have people now saying, "Oh, now I see what you're saying." I've been saying this for a minute. This field is a hard field to be in. I love what I do, but at the end of the day, I just want to lay down and, burn a little sage and just rest because it's emotionally draining. It's nothing like, kind of being out and shopping or wherever in your workplace and walking around, and someone says, "Can I talk to you for a second?" Every time I hear that, I already know what it is. and I got to brace myself.
Wow.
I'm not saying I don't take care of everybody, but the ones that strike me the hardest, that make me go home and cry, is our black men. And there's nothing like a big 6'6" burly guy saying, hey, Miss K, can I talk to you a second? Can I come by your office? And then they talk to me and they just break down. They cry. Even here in social media, it's crazy. I have people that hit me up in my messenger saying, can I talk to you? I realized that 80% of my clients were molested as children. That's my latest statistic. I think it's a little higher now. I'm going to do a little bit more analysis on it. But I'm just
Did you say
about,
80%?
80%? 80, yes, I did.
Wow.
I did. Yeah. I've even talked to several women on Facebook. I've friended quite a few. And I could say every other woman that I've talked to has been molested as a child. And it's sobering. It's hurtful. When I see them interact on Facebook, on social media, some of them are sweet as pie. Some of them, they got a bite like a snake. But I know their trauma, and I can see it. And, every so often I'll post, that I'm just going to check on you. But I don't want nothing from you, but I just want to check on you. That's why I post that, because I see my people in pain. And to hear women in their 70s and 80s talk about how they were molested over and over, to have men in their 60s and 70s tell me how they were molested over and over, how some of the men actually had to, when I hear a man said, I left home at 15 and 16, I no longer look at it as they left home because they're, they were grown and mouthing off. I look at it more now that there was abuse in the home and they were finally able to find a way to freedom. That's how I'm looking at it now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense, but I look at it with a different set of lenses now. And when I talk to them, it's interesting because, where I work, I run into hundreds of people a year. And I can't even eat lunch out in public, like at a McDonald's or wherever, and someone doesn't walk up to me and say, can I talk to you? Because I know I'm going to be pissed, I'm going to be angry. Yes.
Let me ask you this. How would you say it adversely affects them as a parent?
Well, what I do see is they kind of go both ends of the spectrum. I never really see, I can't say never, but I rarely see a happy medium. Either they're super, super protective, or they're super, super critical and possibly abusive. I'm not going to say sexually abusive, but more physically, emotionally type abusive. More the emotional, I should say. And so that's where when I talk with them, I ask them how their home life is, not because I'm nosy, but I want to know how they're treating their children. Because if it's a black man and they have a son, I want to make sure that both of them are healthy. So when they do come to me to provide the advocacy services, to hook them into different treatment, oftentimes I realize I am taking care of the grown adult that's sitting in front of me, as well as the child that never had a voice or could shout or scream out or stop the abuse. So I'm providing support for both of them. And that's how I look at it. And I'm on target about 100% of the time. I ain't going to sit here and lie. When I do trainings and briefings about sexual assault, sexual abuse, and harassment, I can look at the audience and I can gauge that a certain percentage of the people in there have gone through it or know somebody going through it right now. And they just stare at me, wondering, is she seeing me? Yes, I see you. You know, I don't call them out, but I let them know I'm here. I actually carry two on-call phones, because I take care of two different areas. And so my phones ring at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I am up posted on Facebook at 3 a.m. because I got a phone call. I gotta, work it off. And, the other thing is being the person who is the advocate, because I used to be a provider for, I used to be a battery intervention specialist, also a crisis intervention provider, family as well as marriage. I don't like marriage, therapy at all. But I love doing the family piece. I just didn't like it. I didn't want to know what Bob and Jill were doing. I'm good. But the family piece was very interesting, the way that the family was structured, the abuse that was in it, the secrets that are kept. And it's very hard as a person who's trying to help a family to be unbiased, knowing that they're hurting each other like that, or they have hurt each other like that, without getting angry at them, And I know McQueen's sister does a lot of this work. I applaud her, but I also realized I had limitations. And before I mess up professionally, I got out of it. Because I was in that for quite some time, and I got to the point where my cynicism was taking over, my anger was taking over, and that's not going to help the therapeutic environment for anybody.
That's interesting that you say that, though, because I don't think that people acknowledge that enough, is that your clientele,
they don't.
After so long, you take on some things. Depending on the type of person you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a
feeling person. I'm very feeling.
Right.
It's hard.
Like you can't just turn it off.
And I did the same thing that you did. It's like they tell you don't take your work home with you, and they want to focus on self-care so much. And I worked with children, so I had to get out of it for the exact same reason. It's too much, and I don't have children, so I started to get this complex about if I did have a child, I would be a helicopter mom. You know what I'm saying? Because you get these cases and you got parents that are like great parents, and just somewhere someone was able to slip in and take advantage, and they never see it coming. And so I would have this fear that something like that would happen to me, and it would be the worst thing on the planet, because a mother who can't take her eyes off of her child. She got to be everywhere. Yeah, I'd be that mom at kindergarten, first day at kindergarten, and I'd be like camping outside the classroom door, all through the first week of kindergarten and stuff.
Exactly. That's why I say it's the opposite ends of the spectrum. Either they become, I should use the term, the helicopter parent, or the emotionally abusive, distant parent. I've never really seen anyone come out of this okay. I just haven't. I've been on this planet for over 40 years, actually over 50 years. Hey, but I haven't seen anybody come out of it unscathed. There's no such thing. And it's hard. And I left the child piece when my mentor wanted me to be a child forensic counselor. And I had to do the first child interviewing them with the anatomically correct doll. Man, I was pissed by the time I was done with that interview. I was hot. And I told her, I can't do this. There's my limitation. I'm done. I cannot do this. This is not my lane. You need someone else, because right now I'm about ready to go home and get my lady Smith & Wesson, and we're getting ready to do some things, because I just couldn't do it. I ended up crying. She had to debrief me like crazy, because the children were very precise what happened, how it felt. Now, all of this is being filmed so that the police can use it in court. I was done.
Yeah,
so children
that's exactly
are not
what
my thing. They are not my thing. You can, nope. And I have a problem with elderly. When elderly talk to me, she's like, well, let's try, elderly counseling, geriatric counseling. And you're going to tell me about how your son is raping you? End of story. Can't do it. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're doing to grandma? I just couldn't do it. And then to understand how the STD rates in people over the age of 60 is almost as high, if not higher, than teenagers and young adults, I don't want to hear all that. I don't want to hear all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would have never guessed that.
Yep. And it's usually and I don't know about in facilities, but a lot of those cases come up when you have an elderly parent in the home being taken care of by a relative, especially a younger relative, like a grandchild or something. And I haven't had the personal experience of dealing with a client like that because I didn't work with adults for, very specific reasons. But the ones that I did know about, it would be I didn't know any of anyone who was a family member, but the family member's friend, or something like that would be a person that had access to this person that couldn't speak for themselves or fend for themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. This field, you really got to have a lot of heart in it, whether you are in the counselor, piece, whether you are in the psychoeducation piece, the advocacy piece. You have to understand, you can cry. You can cry. My youngest victim of sexual abuse, and the way that we term it is sexual assault is like someone that it's an acquaintance, not a family member, but sexual abuse. There's some sort of relationship involved, whether it be the caregiver, a parent, a brother. So the two terms are different. They're not synonymous. And my youngest victim of sexual abuse was 4 months of age. 4 months of age. And she died of her injuries. And I remember the forensic nurses, when they called me to tell me that she didn't make it, I had to debrief those nurses because they had to do the forensic kit on the child before they did the autopsy. Oh, hell no.
Damn.
I was done. I mean, I pulled it through with them, and now these nurses, we still see each other. We are tight, and we are cool with each other. They can call me. I can call them, because you have to have people you can talk to that understand that. I have, fire, I have EMS, I have police officers that we all talk when this happens. I'm the one that they call when they have a child we had an issue about 2 months ago. The child was 2 years old. They got to the home, child wasn't breathing. And they were like, we might need you to come and talk to our men and women. But the child pulled through, and that's out of abuse. So, I mean, we all are very close, very tight. I'm not real fond of police at all, but I also understand that part. And I will be there to help them because there's no such thing as not taking it home. There's no way you can't take that home. It's like a piece of luggage,
Salute to y'all.
There's no such thing.
For being able to carry that pain for people. And while we're on the subject, if you do have something you want to get off your chest, the number is 347-855-8692. Just press 1. If you don't want me to mention any part of your phone number at all, if you inbox me, I will just give you a number and mention that number. If you just want me to mention the last 2 of your phone number, I'll do that as well. We ain't trying to put nobody on Front Street, no blast shit like that. But if you need to get something off your chest, please, if it ain't us, please just make sure it's somebody. We have got to address the elephants in the room, so to speak, and we got to be able to do it in a respectable manner and allow people, because like for the average person, once a person gets to a certain, like say a young guy is molested, grows up at 19 and now he angry at the world. The world, we ain't looking at him like, oh, this is what happened and why he's like that. We just looking at him like he's fucking up. Can we? What we gonna do about this? Like we have stopped even trying to get to the source of the problem, and we re-encouraging not just young men but young women to not say anything because it's like why say anything and nobody's gonna do anything anyway.
Yep,
that's true.
And
trying to get through to them. I had an older gentleman contact me a couple of months ago, and he is in his late 50s, and he is aware that his brother is molesting his niece. So he calls me and said, what did I do? I'm going, wait, what? You know how I am. Are you really calling me, asking me this? He's like, well, I don't know what to do. I said, what do you think you should be doing? He's like, well, that's my brother. And, just like you were talking earlier, you're protecting your brother, and this is a niece. The child is 11 years old. And he says, well, you have to understand. And I said, okay, I'm going to keep my cool because you don't learn anything if you just blast them. They shut down, too. And so he basically told me that his father molested his brother in an attempt to molest him. So his brother is now a molester, and the niece is who he's doing it to. And I'm sitting here going, multi-generational molestation. And I mean, I tried to be empathetic, sympathetic, and all the rest of them aesthetics that you can think of. But I told him at the end of the day, you a black man, and your job is to protect a black woman. That's your job. So act like it. He's like, I knew you were going to be like that. I said, well, then why would you expect me to say anything else? He wanted me to give him an easy out. But you got to break the cycle somewhere. You know your brother's a predator. Your father was a predator. He said he spoke to his mom. The dad is deceased. So the mom says, well, he's dead, let that sleep. Yeah, but his legacy is leading on. You got an 11-year-old that he's perping on. So it's a fight because it is very active and very predominant in the black family. It's pervasive. It's like a weed. It doesn't go away. And like you mentioned, they do protect. I'm gonna tell you, I get angry. I get royally pissed off. And so
why do we
I
do
gotta
that?
learn to calm myself down. I don't know. I
think it's these allegiances that it's like. I mean, I don't want to, like go just try to reach, but I think a lot of this has to do with us needing to stick together during the most tumultuous times. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it's good that we have that collective mindset, but it can be detrimental sometimes. And I think we circle the wagons, and try to do like an internal, to solve it internally, but it doesn't get solved. The solution ends up being just being quiet, just suppressing
it. Like, I can see,
because,
like, if y'all want to
because we don't have the tools. We don't have the tools to actually fix it.
Bury him in the backyard, okay, I understand that. But what we end up doing is we end up circling the wagons around the criminal, around the perpetrator, as opposed to circling the wagons around the victim.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, society blames the victim anyway. It's always the victim's fault. And that's a problem in society in general. A victim is never to blame. There is nothing an 11-year-old can do that is turning on a grown man. That makes no sense. And I've seen people say, well, maybe if, she wasn't fast in the behind. Hold up. Sexual assault and abuse has nothing to do with sexuality. It's about power and control and the thrill of it all. That has nothing to do. The weapon is sex. And I think people need to understand that. And that's right along with abuse. But, again, you hear people say, well, why don't they just leave? It doesn't work that way. It never has. There's a whole lot of things that go in it. I mean, even when I worked in that field, I had to have police in my office because the abuser made threats to kill me for interfering with trying to get them to safety. So these fields are no joke. They are no joke. I've been held at knife point in my office. I have been held in general in my office, but I'm going to keep doing what I got to do because that's one life that's saved.
Yeah, I don't know how you keep doing what you're doing, because after the night, man, no, I'm good. I'm retiring.
I'm deuces on that.
Yeah, that is that is somebody from above telling me, nah, bro, it's a wrap.
This ain't for you.
But see that.
Yeah.
But that's unfortunate. That's the thing, is that is what you do face. See, people see all this on TV. It doesn't work that way. That's why I tell people it really doesn't. These are deadly fields. You know, if you really want to do this, at some point in time, you are going to be at the end of a gun, a knife, or whatever, because these fields are deadly. But they never portray that part. And that's most of the time why people quit. Because they're like, nobody told me about this. They don't teach you about this in the books. They don't teach you about that in the training. But I've been in and out of this field 30 years. I ain't going nowhere. So somebody got to help them. Somebody got to be here. Someone.
And somebody just asked he was asking, the black man not being in the home, could it be a major part of the skeletons? No, because these skeletons, bro, that has nothing to do with the black man being there or being not, because a lot of times the black man was part of the skeletons. He was the root of the skeletons. You know, so I'm not going to say that like him being in the home or not in the home played a part, generally speaking, and in some instances him not being there actually removed the problem.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think in this particular time, as far as somebody molesting a child in the household, like the man not being there is probably a good thing, depending on who that person was. But generally speaking, it's somebody that the mother knows and loves. I don't know if that answers the question, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to me, it doesn't matter whether he's there or not, really, because he's usually the primary offender. But the thing is, too, you also have another piece that is growing rapidly. Our children are in sports, and it has come out in, the sports piece where the coaches and all the rest of that's been going on, but it has increased. These coaches are a mess, and they become even more disgusting on away games. And
we have given these little league coaches so much power.
Yep. Yes, we have. And those away games in the locker room, and I was hip to the deal when my daughters were telling me that in the high school they tell the kids, whatever we say here, you don't go home and tell mom and dad. Y'all are grown. You don't need to tell your parents anything. And they condition the child starting in the 7th and 8th grade, and they really pour it on in high school. So a lot of parents have no clue. When I go talking to, the high schools about sexual assault and dating violence and rape, I get about 10% of the children, and I call them children, who come up to me who have been in some way, had some level of sexual or physical violence, and their parents never knew, because the schools preach and teach that you are almost an adult, so there's no need to tell mom and dad. Parents don't have a clue.
Let's say a child comes to you and confides in you. I mean, not you per se, but let's say a random citizen, a child just for whatever reason has a connection with that person and confides in them, and they come to you. What do you recommend that person do?
Well, first of all, it's a touchy situation, because a child will often go to usually an adult that they trust. Old school, they really do trust adults because they don't know. And you have to be careful with that piece, because that can be misconstrued. Because, why is this child coming to you? Because then folks look at you all crazy. A good thing to understand is, what have you talked to your parents and why not? Those are the two best questions to ask. And if the child has indicated they haven't talked or they're afraid to talk, then they need to be talked. The parent or the person they went to needs to talk to somebody on a professional level on how to handle it. Because if you handle it wrong, If the home life is messed up, which usually it is, that child gonna get a beat down. You see what I'm saying? It's a catch-22.
Right.
And I would say, talk to an advocate. Most police departments, sheriff's departments, counties have advocacy services. Not child protection, not them, but the actual advocates that talk to victims. That would be your best route because you can ask questions to them. What can they do? How do they handle it without giving names to better help that child? The advocates, because I'm an advocate as well as a program coordinator and all the rest of that crap, but people call me with that a lot. So I give them the guidance that they need and maintain, the fact that they talk to me. I don't want to hear the names yet, but if I have to jump in, I will. Because I want them to also trust that there are services. That's one of the problems is you can bring the people to the river, to the edge, but there's no boat to carry them across. The services out here are horrible. And that's all over the nation. This is America's dirty little secret. Yeah, sexual assault and abuse is America's dirty little secret. They don't throw money at these areas like they do for breast cancer. They know purple ribbons and blue ribbons, which purple is for domestic violence, blue is for child abuse, and teal is for sexual assault. You don't see those ribbons floating around, but you sure see a pink ribbon. Because there is no direct cause and effect for these. There's no cure for these. And this is the secret that they want to keep. And that's why, unfortunately, I train that certain levels of sexual assault and abuse are acceptable in today's society. And people look at me like I'm crazy, but it is.
That's the truth.
So
it's like that yardstick is growing. Whereas 20 years ago, certain shit, completely out of bounds. Now it's like, well, maybe we should, are you serious? No, certain shit should not be, let's rethink this. No.
And it's just being treated like, oh, okay. And you can't figure out why people can't have relationships. Divorce rates are sky high. Broken families, single parent. And you can't figure out, okay. All right. Okay. So,
I don't know if you've ever been with someone that was a victim of sexual assault, but it is extremely difficult to honestly connect with them. And it takes a lot of patience and it takes a lot of love. It really does.
Yes, definitely.
It is. And yes, I've been with people, and I myself am a survivor. So, yeah, I get it. And so I use my abilities, because I fought mine off. They're going to wear scars forever. They're going to look at the mirror and go, oh, that was her. They're going to wear that. But it teaches me, I use that to help other people. And so I'm far more in tune with how people are feeling. When someone passes by me and their vibe is off, it'll make me stop in my tracks. And I'll know whether I should say something to them or let it go. That's how, I guess, hyper-vigilant that I have become. And so this field is actually perfect for me. Some would say it's not, but it works. And there's just so much hurt going around. Sometimes I'm in emotional overload because my empath side, it just takes in so many vibes during the day, that I just want to lay down and I just need it to be quiet. No phone, no movement, don't breathe, don't know what to say anything, just give me silence. But it works because I also know I can help. I have frustration with a lot of the, behavioral health because they don't understand the impact it is for black folks. They know what's in the book, but they don't understand us, the cultural aspects of it. And that's another reason why I left the professional side of behavioral health, because they want to do the books. And, a lot of the psychotropic medications we shouldn't be taking because we metabolize different, because there's different. We are different. We are different. We are not, just because we bleed does not mean we're the same. Certain medications blacks should never take that they prescribe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when they're developing these medications, they are developing them to be successful on white men and white men only.
Correct.
Unless it is specific to the females, and then it's white women.
Correct. Because the Surgeon General in 2003, and I used it in my master's program for behavioral health, he actually published, because each Surgeon General has to publish a large piece of research. And his research was on mental health. And he says it, that certain medications should not be given to black people or Hispanic people, and that schizophrenia needs to have a different type of criteria, because we do talk to ourselves and we answer ourselves and we hear our ancestors. That does not mean we're crazy. That is a spiritual, cultural way that we are. But they diagnose that as schizophrenia sometimes. You know, and it's crazy, because he brought out this whole big thing. Because my final thesis, I brought that up. You know, my professors were like, well, I think your theories are flawed. I said, no, it's not. This is proof. And I already knew that, you know, mental health. Yeah, I was a fighter through my master's degree. I mean, they were like, oh, Lord, here she come again. You damn right.
But that's interesting that you say that, though, because like that's another huge skeleton that we just seem to tuck away when somebody in the family got some mental illness.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yes. And mental illness is prevalent. You know, I've worked around, you know, military members and non-military members, and I see them flipping out. I normalize it. They're like, oh, you crazy? So am I. You know, I normalize it. Maybe that's why they don't mind talking to me, because there's no judgment. You know, I go to Walmart, minding my business, and, you know, old girl be slamming my watermelon. I'm like, yo, are you okay? And I've had them actually bring an interpreter to tell me what's going on. They break down. The manager goes, okay, you can talk. My daughters are to the point where you can't say hi to nobody. Go in the store, get what you get. Don't say nothing to nobody. Go to self-checkout, and let's go.
But you know what that is, though.
You know?
Pain recognizes pain. And if you have been through something very traumatic, you recognize the trauma in somebody.
Agreed. And I also believe steel sharpens steel. So the past, I can help them become stronger. And through them, I also heal, you know, more and more. But I have to understand, too, to identify when I am in overload. And I need to be woman enough, professional enough, mom enough to step my happy butt back and say, I can't do this. Because I ain't got no shame and say, that's it, I can't handle it. But there's a lot of people that try and do it knowing daggone well they can't. Yes.
Can I ask you, do you ever discuss what happened to you?
Yeah, I do. And it's, people just kind of look at me like, you? Yeah. Me, you know? And it helps people, but I'm very careful about it, because sometimes when people are in pain and they see someone who's strong and they find out that their light is tarnished, they won't go to you. So I'm very selective about when I do talk about it. But I'll be talking about it a whole lot more in some of my future, I guess, because I do psychoeducation, you know, to hundreds of people. And sometimes I utilize scenarios that are actually my scenarios. They just don't know it. You know, so I'm kind of been testing out to see how people respond. But it's not, you know, it's me, but it ain't me, if that makes sense.
I get that 100%. Wow, that's
because I don't want them to say I can't go to first damage. I don't want that, so I'm careful about that.
That's an interesting way to look at it that I probably, up until this conversation, would not have viewed it in that way. You know, so I definitely appreciate that aspect. And for anybody out there that is listening, and I see quite a couple people in the live streams or whatnot, The number is 347-855-8692 and press 1. If you just tuned in, you are listening to My Skin is My Sin on Blog Talk Radio. From goons to gods, we welcome everyone. We only have one rule, and that's be respectful. If you got a story you want to get off your chest, if you want to talk about something that has affected your family, if you want to talk about a solution as to how we can get our people to be more honest emotionally and let people express the pain that they in. You know, however you want to work it. And again, if you want to be anonymous, you can inbox me. And if you know anything about me, I'm not into no drama. I'm not putting you out there. When I say it'll be anonymous, it'll be anonymous. Hell, I can't even remember the phone numbers that I want to remember. I'm damn sure not going to remember anybody else's phone number. But we love y'all, and we want to give y'all opportunity to get some things off your chest if you feel like you need to. Whew. All right, I got that off my chest. All right. And I'm sorry, Queen, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just try to get somewhere within the halfway mark, and I didn't realize, wow, time is just flying by.
It really did. It really did.
And speaking of that, how can we fix this? Like, is there a solution? Is there something actionable that we can do, whereas we don't have to, like, it's a tough-ass situation when something happens, we don't want to call the cops because we don't want Uncle so-and-so, to be murdered, but you don't want this behavior to keep going, we damned if we do, damned if we don't. Or should we not give a shit about what what happens to Uncle so-and-so, and if the cops come and murder the man, well, that he was a pedophile anyway, he got what he deserved.
I'm kind of leaning towards the second, but that's not being humanitarian, even though they weren't being humanitarian. I believe in old school street justice. Handle that. Handle that. Back in the day, they used to pound you. They would stomp you if they found out. And I think we should go back to that. Deliver our own street justice. We need to do that. We need to get back to that. And
that's gonna
and just go ahead.
Go ahead, sis. I didn't mean to cut you.
No, you're good. No, you're good. I had my sentence. Go ahead.
It's going to be different scenarios because you're going to have people who don't know what they're doing. We're all going to have those relatives that don't understand. They have a younger mind than their chronological age. So you're going to have to deal with mental illness. You're going to have to deal with people who are just outright perverts. And then you're going to have to deal with children who were victims and they grew up normalizing that behavior. So I think the first place to start is going to have to be starting with, sex and anatomy being so taboo in the black community with children. You know what I'm saying? It's no reason why, our children don't know what body parts are off limits for other people because we don't have these conversations with our children. A lot of people don't have these conversations.
It's like you don't want no pervert talking to your kids about sex, but your kid, that's a healthy dialogue that that you should have with your children at some point. And another thing is what's that limit? But
how young does a child have to be for you to explain that these are your private parts and these are not for anyone else to see or to touch except for mommy and perhaps daddy, if daddy is the caregiver helping with baths or something like that. It's like we don't give our children enough credit to know that something is happening to them that they feel uncomfortable with and they know it's wrong. You know what I'm saying? And children are brighter than what we give them credit for. So
That's
for
true.
us to teach our children, this is your private space. This is no one else is to touch this. No one else is to see this. And if someone is doing something like that, then you need to tell mommy or daddy. You need to tell if you're at school. You need to tell you know what I'm saying? We don't do that. And
that part,
I
totally agree with that part. When you said sex, I was thinking more, the more adult when you say sex, not when you are being touched inappropriately.
Even sex, I think that needs to be a 8 to 10 year conversation. I mean, I'm 36 and I've never had a conversation about sex with either of my parents.
That is interesting. I actually had that conversation with my daughters, or my two youngest daughters. And, a long time ago, my ex and I had we knew our strengths and our weaknesses as far as our parenting skills went. And I knew that was a conversation that she just would not feel comfortable having. And it needed to be had.
But I think a lot of black parents are, and that because their parents didn't talk to them about the subject matter, about sitting down and having that conversation.
And not only talking to your children, but also listening to your children on the same topic, and not talking to them to be their friend, so to speak, but talking to them to give them a right path, to let them know right from wrong, and to help adjust their moral compass for them, because I think some people get too wrapped up in I want to be my kid's friend, and they think that somehow that's going to make your child be super open with you. Every kid goes through teenage years. We all been there. And through those years, despite how good a parent you may have, there are going to be occasions where you do dumb shit. Being their super best friend sometimes actually backfires completely.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely true. It's either that or it's the opposite, where you better not bring no babies home, and that's the extent of the conversation.
And it's not like you're gonna stop at Walmart and buy 2 kids. That's doing your children a disservice. They have no clue on. Well, at this point, you think that kids do, but that's not an expectation that you should have for your children, that they're going to learn it on the streets or on YouTube or on social media. Is that really where you want your kids learning about sex? And then you'll complain when they come home with twins.
Well, they leave it up to the school to teach it, and unfortunately, the educational system here ain't shit. So, it's a lot of parents leave it up to the school to teach things like that, but when the school gets to discipline and things like that, that's not for you to do. I'm the parent. That's my job.
Yeah. It is and I guess I was my generation was the last generation really of a communal aspect as far as schooling goes. Where the teacher calls your mama, barring some miracle, the teacher was right. You could still get your ass whooped in school, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily what should transpire now, because I don't know if there's enough adults that are teaching that I would want to handle that responsibility of who to whoop and who not to whoop.
But the teachers didn't do it when that happened until I was in the 4th grade. I think I remember that's the last time hearing a conversation about my mama not signing a permission slip to let the school pop us. But there was an actual disciplinarian, so you got sent to the principal's office, and then the disciplinarian gave you pops. It wasn't like the teachers could just.
Damn, so it was literally somebody's job just to whoop ass all day.
It was someone. Yeah, it was an ass whooper at school. It was an ass whooper at school. And then it wasn't even that, because then when you got home, or at least with me, and then when we would get home, it'd be like my mama would beat our ass, and then it'd be like, oh, your auntie find out, oh, she gonna whoop your ass too, and your grandma find, oh, she gonna whoop your ass too. It was like that kind of situation. So you do one thing, you get 5 ass whoopings. So, needless to say, I didn't get in trouble much because I wasn't into the beatings.
And that's totally understandable, and that's a beautiful thing. And we have lost our way on that. We have allowed our egos as a parent to supersede what's right for our children in a lot of these instances. It's because, a lot of these parents, they don't want to hear it because they don't want to subconsciously or consciously feel like I'm a bad parent. So they would rather make themselves feel better than their child.
But, I think it's that, but I also think that some of that has to do with the government. The lawmakers have made it so that the children, it's like the customer is always right. It's like the child is always right. So the parent didn't have a good reason for disciplining their child. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a little bit of that too. So it turns into the parents being scared of the children, or children being unruly because there's not that many consequences for them.
And
we have
it is really difficult when you have a child that, for whatever reason, and there may not have been any assault or anything on them, but you have a child that is being hyper aggressive towards you. It is difficult to damn near impossible to obtain any help outside of them locking your kid up.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah,
used to
when
be,
we have to deal with case managers, it would be okay. Well, if the child was just that unruly and running away or constantly getting, the police constantly there, and the parent just can't handle them, then the case managers would be like, okay, well, they're in line, they're on the wait list, and then it's another 6-8 weeks, 2-3 months before the child gets some kind of advocacy. They have to call it advocacy. It's not really advocacy. But the government steps in.
Yeah, but as a community, then because we have nothing in place to negate them having to go to the system, which the system has somebody a destination already in place for them, and we basically are just accelerating that because now they quote unquote crazy niggas that can easily be put in jail. Not that the rest of us can't, just makes it a little easier for them. And that's the problem. It's like we want people to be, to address the psychological harm that has been done in our own families.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't give them avenues to do so. And we don't give them the avenue to pick up the pieces, because if something happened, and you'll be surprised how many generations this shit will affect. And not only in the way people parent, but the story gets handed down. And when you hand down a fucked up story, what you're inherently doing is telling your kids, we okayed this.
Right. Yeah. You ain't the first. This has happened before. This is not new.
And we all agreed, basically, that we good with this behavior.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you see a real soldier, and shout out to I don't know if I should be saying names, but anyway, she said, well, I'm gonna say your comment. So shout out to Teresa. As soon as they can talk, we should have these conversations in regards to sex. That's a tough one for me, just me personally. Like, I don't know how. I mean, I'm assuming, like, you got a 5-year-old and you're talking about sex. They would be able to grasp things and retain them easier at that age. But I would just feel really creepy talking to a 5-year-old about sex.
You know what? You may feel creepy, but you would be surprised at how many cases you have children that's been sexually abused, and the adult that was molesting them says, "Oh, well, this is how we play this game. This is how we show. This is how you show your love. This is how you show your. You know what I'm saying? So if the child knows, no, that's not what this is. They know. They know that this is not okay, and I need to tell somebody. But when you don't tell a child that, and an adult does something like that, they don't know that that's not the right thing that's happening. They don't know that shouldn't be happening. So, and it's a tough call. You're going to have some parents that be like, no, I'm not telling my 7-year-old about sex. No, I'm not. Well, I would tell mine so that if someone tries to do something, they can identify that. They know that that's what's going on, and they know that that's not an appropriate thing for another adult to be doing with them. You got to make a decision. You either going to run the risk of, hey, no, that wouldn't happen to my child. I watch my child, got a good network, got a good family, good people. No, we good. I need to shelter my child. Or you can be realistic and say, I'm not there 24 hours a day. Doesn't matter how good the school is. Doesn't matter how great, my husband's uncles are when they're around. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. Just in case my child needs to know. And at the worst, hey, they learned, anatomy and physiology at an early age. They learned about the birds and the bees. They're accelerated, like at the worst.
And, I would agree with that 100%. To teach your child, I started mine before they were even conceived, which means I had to get my head together as a parent and be for real about sexuality and the crimes committed against children. So even when my babies, as soon as they were learning how to walk and go to the restroom, the conversations are not like you and I talk, but we had the conversations in a level they understood. If you can walk and talk, first thing we did was
rather make them
your phone number. Just made a song out of our phone number. Mommy, daddy, and dun, 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 dun. Because if it didn't feel right, they should be able to say that.
Hey, Queen,
you got
some like clicking noise in the background. I want to make sure that people can
That's
hear you.
That's my earrings. I'm sorry, those are my earrings.
You got one of them salt and pepper earrings in?
Yeah, I got them big long ones. Those are my earrings.
Right. I like something slap you in the side of the head.
Yeah. As soon as my babies were able to walk and they were potty training, that's when the talk about good touch, bad touch started in the language they understood, making sure that they knew their phone number, their name, and mommy and daddy. We started right there. We did not play with that at all. So, I yield.
Man, that's yeah, that you know what, and that is the solution though. Is we have to be more comfortable with the uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah. Because if you don't tell them, somebody else gonna tell them, and it might be somebody that you don't approve of, in a way that you don't approve of. So do it yourself.
That is true. That is oh man, that is extremely true. And I guess conversations like these, well, hopefully there's somebody out there that, like I say, that and it may not be today. You may listen to the show next year, and if you get something out of it, salute to you. That's what makes it worth it. And shout out to everybody that has checked out the live stream. Definitely appreciate that. If you can, tag somebody, share somebody. We still got about 30 minutes to go with a conversation. The number is 347-855-8692. You do have to press 1 if you want to get on air. And like I say, if you would like to be anonymous, we will definitely do that. If you want to say who you are, then you feel free to do so. But we're not about to put nobody out there unless they want to. And we're talking about skeletons in the closets. And I think we touched on, just molestation, rape. We talked about domestic violence a little bit. Just pretty much all of the topics that seem to get ignored in our families. And and the sad part is it depends a lot of times on what the perpetrator has monetarily. If your sister marries a rich dude and he's beating the shit out of her, half the family is telling her to stick it out because they benefit.
But what are you over there doing? Well, stop aggravating that man. Stop nagging him. Stop. Yep, you sure right about that.
We have got. We'll talk shit about them when they be talking about victim shaming, but we do the same thing, and we don't realize it in a lot of cases. We are putting our ego in front of our family. And I don't care what you believe, who you pray to, that ain't right in any book or anything. That's not a good look. And how are we to unify as a collective community if we can't unite our own families. And we are poisoning generations unnecessarily because we don't want to talk and we don't want to listen. You know, and you're absolutely right. And shout out to the Queen, and she calls up every week, but her call dropped. And I know how Blog Talk is. Some weeks nobody can get through, and I get a million inboxes the next day. And some weeks, you know, everybody can get through. Because I can't imagine that nobody else has called, because actually I did try to call up, and I couldn't get in myself. So if you can't get in, it is not my fault. But if you would like to call up, the number is 347-855-8692, and you got to press 1. And we'll do this, you know, occasionally, you know, just to allow people a space where they can feel comfortable talking about something that they don't feel comfortable talking to whomever in their life. You know, so some days it'll be like today, we'll get one caller, and some days it'll be like, you know, another week we'll get 20 callers. It just depends. Anyway, I can't imagine.
But the goal
doing
is for someone to get something out of it. They could just be listening. The goal is, you know, for people to start a conversation when they get home. Maybe someone will go home and they'll have a conversation with their child. Or they'll start, you know, the wheels are turning. And maybe, you know, they have younger children and maybe they'll build themselves up to doing it before someone else does it that they wouldn't approve of. So hopefully, you know, it sparked a match.
I hope so. That would be pretty dope. And I can't even imagine working in that field. Like I attract pain, and I'm fully aware of that. And working in, oh no, for whatever reason, I attract people that have had some painful things happen to them.
Oh.
And I don't know why, but I've always been that way. And that's a gift and a curse. Because you start to you like almost absorb some of their pain in trying to help them, and they may actually, you know, you may actually help them and alleviate some of that pain, but you didn't really alleviate it. You just transferred it to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and so I can't imagine every day, you know, with very few instances of success stories, are you able to incur that much pain from so many different people and still maintain your sanity? You know, so if you in that industry and you helping, you know, domestic violence victims or you helping rape victims or, you know, sexual abuse victims, salute to you. You are doing something. When they say people doing jobs that nobody else wants, you are doing a job that most of us can't handle. And you should be saluted to the fullest. So I just wanted to go on the record and make sure that you are fully aware that I, for one, am proud of you, and I damn sure appreciate everything that you're doing, because it's not enough of you. You know, it's not enough people out there that actually care, and not just care for today, but going to care in a year. It's going to care in 2 years. It's going to care in 5 years. It's just not enough of those people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's tough. I remember, you know, you remember some of the stories that you've been told, and you know, some you look at your moms or you look at your pops like, wow, like it just adds to they legacy of being a superhero in your eyes, you know. But then you also like, wow, why did y'all endure that, or why did that person endure that, or why did y'all allow that to happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's part of the reason that it goes on for so long, is because they've been dealing with the shame for so many years that they don't, you know, now they don't judge me. You don't know how it was back in those days, you know, but you know, and you don't know how it was back in those days. But I do know one thing: children should not be harmed. Like, I'm not sure, you know, like there is no error to me that it should be acceptable for children to be harmed, and for your community to accept that.
Yeah, absolutely right.
You know, and I'm just one person. You know, we have to be realistic and give our children the tools to combat these issues. You're absolutely right. You know, and that goes into what y'all was saying. We do have to be realistic. You know, and we have to be more practical. And I myself have been conditioned to think certain things are nasty. Or, ew, that's a conversation I don't want to have with my kids. You know, like, but you want to raise healthy adults.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
we don't have no problem disciplining them. You know, well, why do we have a problem building them up and giving them the tools to manage this sometimes wicked ass society safely, as safe as possible, and to know, you know, when to say no, and when to come to us and say, hey, so and so did this, and to feel comfortable enough to know that if they do come to one of us, that it won't just be lip service, it won't just be a and pass the buck to somebody else.
Mhm.
You know, it is nothing. You won't see much worse than a child who has been harmed and then repeatedly let down thereafter. You know, it's like just when they think the worst can't happen, they let one or two people in emotionally, and then that person, they don't do the same thing as far as, you know, assaulting them, but they ruin that last hope of trusting another human being.
Yeah.
You know, so when you help a kid, make sure, you know, you can't do everything for that child. No. You know, but you can help them see it through the end. And that's not a good way to say it, but give them somebody they can depend on. You know, and if it's you, who do you have? Do you have anybody in your life that you feel like I can depend on emotionally with the biggest secret I got? Talk to that person. You know, and if I am not a religious person, but if you have a pastor and you feel like you got a good pastor and your pastor has shown to be an honorable person, and you can talk to them. If you got a doctor, talk to them. If you got a best friend, talk to them. If you can talk to one of your parents, talk to them. But please don't own pain that somebody inflicted on you. That is not your responsibility, and that should not be your legacy, is pain that somebody inflicted on you.
That also transfers into your adult relationships, and we wonder why we have such an issue, you know, with the black man and the black woman, you know, maintaining healthy relationships. So a lot of that has to do with childhood trauma that we never got over. So
That is true.
You have two children in adult bodies that are trying to not repeat the same cycle, but they're set up to do so. You set up for failure.
Yeah, you know, a healthy adult was given a roadmap. You know, now it wasn't just like one street. You know, of course it got some twists and some turns, but essentially you're given a roadmap on how to behave, how to be successful, X, Y, and Z, blase, splee. You know, and you work within those parameters. When something so tragic happens to you, you know, and nobody does anything, it's like your roadmap is an empty sheet of paper, or it's so chaotic that you can't see anything. You can't make, you know, you have to make things up as you go, and you're doing that with a lot of anger inside you. You know, I don't know who was it that said it. I can look it up. But they was, you know, like they said earlier, with a lot of resentment. You know, so I don't know. It is a really tough conversation.
It is. It's a tough conversation, but a necessary conversation. So
Well, it
we
would
have
be nice
to learn.
if other people called up.
It would be, but it's also nice that people are listening and, seeds are being planted. So.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That would be pretty dope. And besides, we only got about 20 minutes to go. And I do want to let you know one more time, the number is 347-855-8692. You have to press 1 to get on air. And I don't mention this often, but for those Apple people, we are on iTunes if you want to check us out. It's My Skin is My Sin. And pretty much if you Google that, you'll find us somewhere. So please tell somebody and share a post if you see a post. We got about 20 more minutes, and we're doing Skeletons in the Closet, Secrets That Destroy Black Families. And like I said, we only got a few more minutes left, but we pretty much have covered damn near everything, and we also got a good chance to cover it from the other side of the coin, in that people, that are trying to help those that are going through some of the trauma that they have experienced. So that's been kind of dope. She really gave a perspective that, and I'm in the medical profession, and I don't necessarily get, like you may get a little bit of the backstory, but generally speaking, you just get the end result of who they are as an adult at that point, from all, as a result of all the trauma that's been inflicted. And typically, it is not a good look.
Yeah.
They are very, very, they can be very aggressive. They're getting younger and younger. They can be predatory in nature, as far as with the older people. So it's and then sometimes you get a chance and they sit down and they'll tell you their story. Mm-hmm. And when you hear the story, it's like I said earlier, like we typically just, come get this motherfucker away from me because they tripping, and we not concerned with how they got to that point. When you understand how they got to that point, it almost gives you a boost of hope for that particular individual. It's like, okay, now, it increases my patience factor, because I know that you're just not a jerk. You were raised to be the way you are as a result of extreme neglect, as a result of extreme abuse. So now, knowing that, I'm looking at you as you're sick, and we don't look at it that way. If you're not coughing or you ain't got the flu or pneumonia or something like, you didn't break nothing, ain't nothing wrong with you. Well, if you've been physically and emotionally traumatized, that, they have put a sickness into you that you can get help with. If that makes sense, and I hope that's not offensive to anybody, because I damn sure don't mean it to be offensive, And when I say sickness, they have altered you psychologically as well as physically, in a negative way that you wouldn't have been prior to their right. And it's tough, and it's tough. Like, it's like you want to talk, but you don't want to be too offensive. You want to listen, but you don't want to be, seem too disinterested. Getting somebody who's been through something to really feel comfortable talking to you is tough to do.
It's tough.
Yeah, and it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that. Don't take advantage of that, though, please. If somebody for whatever reason has allowed you into that space in their life, appreciate that honor, because it is an honor, because that person is probably not allowed too many people in their life into that space. So please do not misuse that and create more chaos for that person. Be good if somebody gives you that benefit. Anyway, and I'm not sure where Rome is at. I saw him in the live stream, and then he disappeared. I'm going to call up in 20 minutes. I ain't seen or heard from you, bruh. And you know what? We got about 15 minutes. I think I'm going to wrap it up a little early, maybe about 10 minutes early. But I do want to say I definitely appreciate, the people that tuned in. And, again, I hope somebody gets something from it. Don't forget to check out intellectuallypetty.com, KOMLportraits.com, designsbymonet.com.